What if society has already collapsed and we're living in the ruins? The difference between living in societies in the past that have totally collapsed and now is that there are no architectural ruins scattering the landscape. Those ruins are more in our memories. I think often of my childhood growing up in the 90s and how much things have changed. Now, I'm not talking about nostalgia or romanticizing the past to where you think there's a utopia in childhood, because there was no utopia. Things weren't perfect. Never have been, but things really have changed. It's almost like the social order is being held together with band-aids and scotch tape. When you look at past societies that have collapsed, empires even, you see very similar traits like the corruption and decadence of the upper classes. You see a breakdown in civic virtue and patriotism. You have things that once unified a people, giving them common identity, no longer present. They no longer unite people. Now, I personally think, as much as I love my country, that there's always been things about the United States to criticize. But Nietzsche said that if God is dead, what are these churches except the tombs and sepulchres of God? And I think, what are these fast food restaurants that no longer have identity? They're just modular structures that can be sold and interchanged to another generic fast food restaurant simply by changing out the sign. Blockbusters now, they don't dot the landscape anymore. They're not ruins. They're gone. They're paved over. They're ripped down. We don't build structures to last. The places that we have good memories of from childhood, they're just repurposed for some other fleeting retail opportunity. The toy stores, the video game stores, the playgrounds, the seesaws, the merry-go-rounds, people riding their bikes, all that seems to be kind of gone. There's no physical ruins, they're just in our memories. But then you find out that so much of what we grew up with was a lie to begin with. The people behind Hollywood, how many of those are just absolute predators? And I'm not trying to say every actor or every stagehand or every writer is a bad person. That's what I hate about the internet. We generalize too much. But Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, so many of these people interconnected with Diddy, the politicians. So many of these people behind closed doors, behind the scenes, running things, financing things. Epstein's girlfriend was invited to be on a secret 9/11 commission. Why? Who is she? The same people at the parties and weddings of our politicians, of the people that you grew up seeing on TV. How many of these people are just absolutely decadent and corrupt? And what they sold us, it turns out to be a lie. I think we were hypersexualized growing up. I went back and watched a little bit of Dawson's Creek, and it's so simplistic, but man, did they just spin some straight up propaganda. There's no longer a left and a right. Those sides have fragmented into various factions. The MAGA movement has really crumbled. The right is very divided right now about Israel and Trump and everything else. But so is the left, between the old school liberals and the new left. And so is feminism. Feminism is no longer a coherent movement. It's radical third wave feminism against the TERFs, there's at least 5 to 8 feminisms now. So is the LGBT movement. What used to be the people you grew up saying, hey, let's just be nice to gay people. Well, that is a radically fragmenting group at this point. It just seems to me that ideologically and structurally, it's just sort of a fabric that's coming unwoven, one thread at a time, and it's getting a little threadbare. What are these Toys R Us buildings that are now turned into some furniture store, if not the tombs and sepulchres of the world we grew up in? I think the world's going to change a lot if I live a normal, full life. I think it's going to change a lot by the time my children are old, let's say. Someone suggested that millennials and maybe the older Gen Z might be the last generations to remember normal. Not to say things were perfect then, but we're the last generations to grow up before social media took over everything. The vitriol, the fragmentation. But then you realize some of the information we were sold by these corporations was also bad. Ideologues in Hollywood, the music industry, politics, have always been spinning narratives like Penelope spun shrouds. But what I remember was people being less divided. Disagreement, sure, but we didn't hate each other. There was more in common. You just assumed that the people across the street or down the way or at school or at church or the grocery store were not your enemy. They were Americans. So we rode our bikes outside till it was dark, until Mom hollered across the way to come inside because we didn't have phones. But that seemed more safe back then. That's before human trafficking became... They found another tunnel, I think they said, might lead to a popular street in San Diego. I haven't researched that, but human trafficking is a major problem in the United States now. And I think we should be kind to immigrants, but the politicians who refuse to secure the border and let the cartels run this place, smuggling in drugs, smuggling out people, it's very corrupt. I have to believe some of them are taking a cut. Some of them were looking the other way to benefit from it. And now, we don't really want to let our kids out of our sight, do we? And so we're raising our kids both overprotected and yet unsupervised online. And they're going to grow up much differently than we did. Social cohesion is sort of just held together right now with Band-Aids. What do we really have in common with other Americans besides the fact that we live in the same area and we speak the same language for the most part? There's no monoculture that unites us. There's no common belief structure that gives us something in common. But there are the ruins, the leftovers, the echoes of a common belief structure, of a common monoculture. As dark as this all sounds, I think there's hope. I really do. I suspect we're going to hit some really hard times in my lifetime, but there's really, I think, signs of hope. And I'm going to talk about that particularly probably next week. I am going to start a Patreon, but I don't want it to be like normal Patreons. If you support me and the channel, what we're doing here, I want to send you really physical things, tangible things. I'm going to send you real art that you can put in your homes or at your desk at work. I'm going to send you art from, make available art from real local artists, human beings, not this AI nonsense. I'm going to send you prints of, perhaps even on a postcard, of the great art from the past, occasionally handwritten, hand-signed letters. And then exclusive talks on there, we're going to talk about, I think, how to deal with the collapse of our culture and why I find value in ancient culture, medieval culture, the underpinning structures of our society. And for me, that goes back to ultimately, you're going to have to ask those religious questions. But here are some basic things right now that we can do, I think, to make things better for ourselves, for the people around us, for our children. The internet has been one of the worst things to happen to humanity. It should have been one of the best things, and in some ways it's been fantastic. You have access to more information, more alternate opinions, but it's been used primarily, I think, for the profit of corporations to spy on us and collect our information. That's going to get much worse with AI. They aren't building these data centers out of the kindness of their hearts. They're building large amounts of large data centers for a reason, and that's to collect more information on us. More and more, there's the possibility that we'll be disposable cogs in the machine. Elon Musk said he thinks there won't be money. There will just be some sort of rations, and you won't have to work. But then that means, if you think about it, I will be dependent upon him to provide me everything that I need. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't trust really any of these folks. I think the hope for humanity is not in AI. It's not in giant corporations. It's not in politics. I don't think a politician or a political ideology is the answer at this point. You can make real change in the world away from the internet, away from Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, by being kind at the grocery store, by loving your neighbor. Who'd have thunk that? I feel like I heard that somewhere. Like, who'd have thunk that loving your neighbor is good for society? If your neighbor is elderly and needs help, helping them, actually loving them, even if it's inconvenient and you're tired. By looking out for the kids out there and being kind to them, giving the grown-up that you needed as a kid, because they need that too. By doing your damnedest to be a faithful, loving husband if you have a wife, or a father if you have children, or a mother, or a wife, or just a friend, or a sister, or a brother. By remembering real culture, Not the nonsense out there from Hollywood. I'm talking about the ancient stories passed down to us. They were passed down to us for a reason, including the Bible, by the way. There's an old word that's not popular anymore, but it's called virtue. Things like courage, temperance or restraint, wisdom, fortitude, faith, hope, charity. Those things can really enrich our lives and society. Doing little things like taking moments of silence, going in the woods and just listening to birds sing or pray, to declutter our minds and our souls from the insanity out there. To fight inhumanity, we're being dehumanized, and we fight that by being more fully human. More to come next week.